what I'll do is I'm going to record the session. Thanks a lot for coming to this meeting, and appreciate that. So tonight we are going to discuss module 3, and hopefully people are settling in well with the first 2 modules that we have discussed before. Okay. All right, students are recommended to go through the learning materials, and this presentation includes some key concepts. So please find the details on the study guide to get the details of the insights of the relevant topics. Okay? Now this one here is my favorite slide. Please make sure that you download the study guide, the assessment brief, the assessment template, and also subject outline to help you guiding your study. And go through the each module in the study guide according to the timeline. So I estimate that it requires roughly 2 weeks maximum. If you spend more than 2 weeks, then you need to catch up. And in fact, I checked the learning materials in the study guide. We may be able to complete a module in less than 2 weeks. Highly recommended you do that. Okay? And attempt each assessment and hand in the assessments on time. We just had the assessment 1 in week 4, and I'm pretty glad that I'm pleased to announce to you that all assessment papers that were submitted in week 4 have achieved the satisfactory result. Okay? Now we have the second hurdle, the second one, which is due in week 7. Please make sure that you download the assessment template. As mentioned before, you'll find that it is not as scary as it may look like. Okay, and assessment 3 is due in week 11. Now, if you need help, you can send me an email. That's my email address, and contact the Student Services Center for non-academic support. Okay. All right. Objectives of the subject include these elements here, which is basically referring to the risk management process. Okay, we need to be able to establish the risk context, identify risk, analyze risk, and select and implement treatments. Okay, the first 2 actually were captured in the in assessment 1. Now, assessment 2 is basically about analyzing the risks. Right, so in terms of the goal for tonight, it is actually as simple as understanding the key concepts of risk analysis and use the tools to analyze risks. Okay, now, in the previous modules and also in the assessment 1, we identify risks. We establish the context and we identify risks. Okay. Now here we with this topic tonight, we actually conduct a risk analysis. Okay. There are 4 phases in a risk analysis. The first one is to identify the existing controls, whether the existing controls that we have in the organization are in place or not. Right? Are they working or not? Okay. Now these will be the foundation of risk analysis. Okay. And the next thing is to determine the likelihood of risk occurring and its frequency, and determine the consequence or impact if a risk occurs. Now, the second and third steps are basically the tools to measure risk. Okay, so risk measurement has 2 dimensions: likelihood and consequence or impact. Okay, and the last step is to estimate the level of risk by combining consequence and likelihood. Okay, all right. Now let's look at the risk likelihood. This actually represents the probability of a risk event to occur. Okay, so if we launch a new product, for instance, we identify the risk. What are the risk events, right? Risk events are anything, any uncertainty that may stop us from achieving the objective, right? Let's say we discussed with our stakeholders and we found that our competitors may reduce the price when we launch a new product, okay? And we discuss with our stakeholders further. What is the likelihood if, for our competitors to reduce the price? Well, we can rate it, right? How do we rate it? We can rate it 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, or 1 to 100 even, okay? Now, if you look at that, 1 to 3 may not be able to provide us with a, with a more insightful diagnostic likelihood assessment, actually. So at least we do that in 1 to 5. We could rate our likelihood from 1 to 5. Okay. If you refer to the project management body of knowledge, or PMBOK, they actually use 1 to 10. Okay, but you can also use 1 to 5 to write the likelihood. Okay. Now, if you go back to the likelihood that we discussed before about our competitors reducing their price, our stakeholders may advise us that the likelihood would be 4, because that means the chance for them to reduce the price when we launch new product is quite high. So it's 4. Okay. Okay. So what does it mean? Well, actually, this represents what it means actually. Okay. 1 is actually suggesting that the likelihood is quite rare. 5 being certain, or at least it is almost certain. If you look at weather forecast, for instance, if the weather forecast say that it is 80% chance of rain, then we may rate it as quite certain. Okay, and again, in here, businesses may have different likelihood standards. Okay, they may rate it from if they use 100, if they use 100 scale, then they may rate it based on 1 to 10 would be quite low. 11 to 20 would be, the next level. So the probability would be 2, for instance, and so on and so forth. Okay. So yes, we can also rate the probability based on based on research as well. Okay. Your learning guide also shows the event tree, actually. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about the event tree in here. Okay, the event tree actually helps us understanding where it sits in terms of the likelihood of an event to occur. Okay, here we have the fire, for instance, and we also understand that there are several systems that may affect our effectiveness in analyzing the fire to occur in our organization. Okay, now that is actually the beauty of using event tree. Okay, so we can look at there's 2 systems here: sprinkler system, and the other one is communication with the fire brigade as a system. Okay, and he actually this event tree actually uses 50-50% chance, right? The chance for the sprinkler system to work properly is 50%, and to work to fail working properly is not a 50%. Okay, and the same thing happens to the communication to fire brigades. Okay, 50-50 as well. Okay, so the outcome here would be, yep, if everything works properly, then it is okay, it's fine. Okay, now we can look at the chance here for partial damage would be this one is actually another 25%, if you like, and this one is another 25, so we can combine them as 50%. So partial damage, okay, and substantial damage would be 1/4 as well of the chance in here. Okay, so that is taking 50-50 in here, and we split them up into another 50-50, and we get As a result, we get a quarter here, and in between the partial damage, we get 50% chance of partial damage. Okay, so that's our likelihood. Right? All right, so that is 50-50. Now, in real life, we may have an event where it's not exactly 50-50. Okay, it may split up into 98 and 2%, for instance, for argument's sake. Okay. So what's here is another example. Again, the beauty of event tree is actually letting us to analyze different systems, because one risk event may be affected by a series of systems, or a series of failure, or a series of success. Okay, so here we say the loss of grid power supply. Okay? And we also look at the frequency. Here it's 0.1 per year in terms of frequency that happens, right? And we split that up into 98 to 2% in terms of failure, in terms of success and failure. And again, we also estimate the probability of that to continue to operate. So this diesel engine runs for a required period to run successfully, 99.9%. So it's almost certain. Okay, that leads us to the continued operation. Okay, here we talk about a 0.1% of failure. Okay, now I'm also taking this opportunity to show you another file that I actually have uploaded on the portal. Okay, if you look at that, we have a few systems again. Okay, let's say this is about the conveyor belt fire. Okay, the frequency of the conveyor belt fire to happen in the organization is, let's say, for argument's sake, twice a year. Okay, and we have three systems here: heat sensor detects, valve operates, and the other one is water sprays operate. Okay, and the chance for this to be successful is 90 and 10%. Right, so 10% of the chance is failure. Okay, and again, in terms of valve operates, we also estimate the probability being 80 and 20, let's say, based on research, based on our experience, and 70 to 30. Now, this is the thing, in terms of outcome of frequencies. Okay, we multiply all numbers, right? Here we multiply 2 by 90%, or 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, so we get 1.008 per year, right, in terms of outcome frequencies for that to happen. Okay, and we also do the same thing for the others to happen. And here you can say how much, what is the likelihood of that conveyor belt fire to be in the success rate. Okay, this one here is 1.008 per year, divided by, you can sum them up in terms of success rate. Okay, now you can please have a look at that file. I've uploaded that file on the portal as well. So hopefully that helps guiding you in your learning for this topic, analyzing risks. Okay? Right, now we have discussed the event tree. Okay, we also discussed, briefly discussed about a different technique in terms of analyzing the likelihood. Okay, now actually, if you look at that, we can also consult the stakeholders. Risk management, project management actually requires us to consult the stakeholders. We are actually required to develop the communication, consultation with the stakeholders. Why? Because we have different expertise, right? They are the experts in their fields. Okay, let's assume that we work for marketing department, and we are going to launch a new product. Okay, so we need to consult with the stakeholders such as sales department, customer service department, procurement department, production or manufacturing, quality, R&D, finance, and so on and so forth. right? Now we discuss with them, hey guys, what do you think about this, right? What do you think about our competitors / enterprise? What is the likelihood? And we get feedback from relevant function in the business. Okay? Right. So it is quite common as well to do the consultation with the stakeholders in terms of estimating likelihood. Aside from that, we of course we can do some research, do statistical analysis to look at the probability of something to occur. Okay. Right, so that is basically the first dimension to measure risk events. The second one is the consequence or impact. Right, if you refer to the project management body of knowledge or PMBOK, you'll find that they use the term impact instead of consequence. Okay. Well, that's fine. We can use either one that you use. That's fine because I accept both terms. Okay. Now, actually, consequence represents how bad is the risk if it happens. Okay. So, in the case of likelihood, we are trying to estimate what is the chance of that risk event to occur, so that our objective achievements will be affected. Okay. Now, from consequence perspective, we actually talk about how bad it is if it is happening, okay? How bad it is can be expressed in terms of costs to the business, okay? It can also be expressed in terms of working days lost, because that means cost to the business as well, or the other assets lost, like brand reputation, for instance. It is not an asset. Or our machine breaks down, for instance, if we keep running it on and on without resting the machinery, okay? Or severity of an injury, right? That is another one that is another cost that we can also consider, or any other types of consequence, okay? We can also rate it the same way as we do for likelihood. 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 10. And if you refer to PMBOK again, Project Management Body of Knowledge, they use 1 to 10 or even 1 to 100. You can use 1 to 100. But at least you can also refer to 1 to 5, which is my favorite rating scale, because it is not as complicated as the others, but it is still giving us some insights, right? But some organizations may also require us to rate it 1 to 10, to use 1 to 10 to rate our risk consequence. Okay? Again, the same thing like the one before. In terms of consequence, we can also use decision tree. Okay, here we say database. Let's say we have several things in here. Okay, development costs, the outcome, the projected sales revenue, and the net profit. Okay, the database here, database A. If we develop database A to help us achieving our goal, okay, what's the chance for that to be successful? Well, 50-50. All right, that means 50% success and 50% failure. Okay. What is the projected sales revenue if it is successful? $1.2 million, right? If that's the case, then what is the net profit? Well, net profit would be $1 million. 1.2, take away the cost, which is $200,000, so we get $1 million profit. What about if it is failure? Well, we sell nothing. Okay, that means we are losing $200,000 money. We are losing $200,000. Okay. Now, if you look at that, we can also estimate it not necessarily 50-50 in terms of success or failure. It could also be 70-30, right? And that's our calculation if it is 70-30. Okay. Well, what about the other technique? Well, again, as we discussed in likelihood, we can also consult the stakeholders and we can also do some research, okay, to find out the costs. Okay, in our consultation with the stakeholders, they should be able to advise us. Let's say, hey guys, what is the chance for our competitors to reduce their price when we launch this new product? Okay, well, the feedback from sales management team may be, well, look, the chance is quite high, and if that happens, I'm going to lose the orders from my customers. All right, how big is the orders that we are going to lose? And they may give us the numbers. Well, I'm going to lose roughly $100,000 or $150,000. All right. Now, normally businesses have got their own standard. Okay, below $20,000, they may say, yeah, okay, it's quite little. 22, let's say for argument's sake, $100,000 may be moderate. Above $100,000 may be quite high, and so on and so forth. They may rate it that way, okay, as a benchmark for them to make decision whether the consequence is low, moderate, or high, okay, or whether the consequence is rated as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, okay. Okay, now look, this is a risk register table. Now we have to develop one actually, okay, and this is a risk register table in the generic term, right? You can refer to your own risk register table on the template, okay. And until module 3, we actually discuss up to priority. Okay, and let's have a look at that, okay. These actually represent the first one here actually represent the risk events. Let's say we are going to launch a new product. Okay, what are the risk events? That means we are asking ourselves what may stop us from achieving our objectives. Let's say the first one that we have identified would be competitors reducing the price when we launch the new product. Right? What is the likelihood? Based on our consultation with the stakeholder, with the sales management, let's say they say it's quite high. The likelihood is 4. Well, that's quite high actually. What about the impact? Well, the impact based on our consultation with stakeholders, we are going to lose $150,000. And based on our company standard, losing more than $100,000 would be considered as high. Okay, how high is that? Well, it's 5. Okay, so the impact here is 5. It's severe, right? Catastrophic, actually. Okay. Now, bear in mind the likelihood for this one is 4, and the impact is 5. Now, actually, before a priority, we should have inserted one more thing, which is the risk level. Okay. How do you get the risk level? Simple. It is actually the product of likelihood and impact. So we just need to multiply those two figures, those two rating scales, right? 4 times 5. We know the likelihood was 4, the impact was 5. So the risk level would be 20. Okay. What about the priority? Now, hang on a second. Let's look at the other risk. Okay. Remember, your assessment requires you to suggest 4 risk events. That is the reason for that is we need to be able to prioritize risks. Okay, we can't prioritize risks if we only suggest 1 risk event. Okay, now let's have a look at the second risk. Okay, what is the second risk for our when we want to launch our new product? Let's say the other risk that we may have is key staff resigning from their job. Okay. What is the likelihood of our key staff resigning from their job? Well, based on our consultation with HR department, the HR department suggests that, well, look, guys, the employee satisfaction level is quite high. It is the highest for, let's say, it is the highest in the industry. All right. So based on that information in our research, we say that the likelihood is 1. Okay, it is low. How low is that? It is 1. Okay. Now, if key staff really resigns, what will be the impact? Well, we are not losing money. However, we may lose opportunities because these people have been working for us for a number of years. And these people have got brilliant ideas, for instance. So it will be opportunity cost for us. We may lose $1 million of business opportunities, because ideas will be gone when these people resign from the business. Okay, so the impact would be 5 as well here. Okay, because the opportunity cost has been measured as $1 million, let's say, for argument's sake. Okay. All right, so we have discussed 2 risk events here. Okay, the first one is 4 likelihood and 5 rating for impact, and the second one was 1 likelihood, 1 rating likelihood, and 5 rating impact. Okay, we can do the same risk calculation for risk level. The risk level for the second risk would be 1 times 5, which is 5. Okay, so we've discussed 2 risk events. The first risk event has been calculated as 20 in terms of risk level. The second one has been calculated as 5 in terms of risk level. Okay, of course, 20 is higher than 5. Therefore, the first risk event would be priority number 1 for us, and the second one would be priority number 2 for us to manage. Okay, so that helps us understanding the priority of the risk. Okay, okay, so that's basically risk level that we need to include in the risk register, and this is the final product after you complete the assessment 3, basically. Okay. Okay. Well, next step, please, guys. Do not get frustrated, because I, strongly believe that a lot of hints have been given to us. Think has prepared, Laureate University has prepared us a number of supports, including your study guide, and also the assessment template. Please use the assessment template to address the tasks. Okay, so this is actually what we recommend instead of getting frustrated. Okay, go through module 3, start assessment 2, which is due on Sunday, week 7. Now we are in week 6 now, and attempt the tasks. And of course, you can contact me, and I'm glad that a lot of people have been contacting me either through emails or class messaging system. I appreciate that, right? Look, get help, and you notice that I sent messages for some people as well to touch base, actually. Okay. Stay tuned, guys, for the next module. We still have 3 more to go to discuss, right? And good luck. Now, let me just check the, sorry. Let me just check if I received some message. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks a lot, Anna. I appreciate that. And can I please ask if you have questions for me? Okay, thank you very much. Look, please, again, do not hesitate to get in touch with me. I know that we've been communicating through email as well. I do appreciate it. I know that everyone is busy. I understand that you are also a busy character, and appreciate. And my apologies because I'm a little late today. I was using a different channel, and I finished my presentation already before, and but I received an email. Hang on a second, I might have been in the wrong channel. Yeah, I know, and I received that email, and I appreciate that email. Because of your email, I said to myself, oh, hang on a second, I may be in the wrong channel. Okay, and appreciate that. All right, what I'll do is I'm going to stop the recording, and again, thank you very much for attending the meeting. I'm going to send you the invite for module 4. Good luck, Anna.